appreciate these trees that they planted along here because we don't get a lot of fall foliage. My days of taking the Metrolink during the week are more or less over. The sun is setting a little before 5 now. I would get up to Irvine about 3:30, 3:45. Not enough time to really do a bike ride, so time for more local rides, although because Oceanside is right next to Pendleton, it takes about a half hour to get up to Pico Park in San Clemente, and I do the Salt Creek ride and the San Juan Creek ride from there. More or less any ride I would want to do in San Diego that involves the car is going to be a half-hour drive or longer. It takes about a half hour to get out to Old 395 to do that rainbow ride. It takes a little under a half hour to get to Encinitas, but only if their traffic is good. Of course, that's true of everywhere. Even the Inland Rail Trail takes about a half hour to get up to Vista, maybe a little less. I was looking through my old rides and I haven't done Harmony Grove and Elfin Forest and Del Dios and Lake Hodges in a while, so but that'll take about a half hour to get up to. Today we're just going to ride down and do the harbor, do the Strand, ride up across the lagoon to Carlsbad and turn around. Figure we'll come back up California Street through Fire Mountain. So a little bit different. And for the first time in probably 2 or 3 months, I'm thinking I'll stop at Alberto's and have their big salad. So it's chilly today, mid 60s, maybe high 60s. But especially with the sun out, it's not too bad. Need my gloves. My hands are getting a little cold. Oh, we're getting pretty stiff headwind heading down to the coast. maybe the first time I've put my gloves on since May or June. When you think of Southern California, chilly may not be the first word that comes to mind, but most of the year that's what it is here. I think the average daily temperature here in Oceanside is 68 or so. 68 now, it'll be 68 in February, it'll be 68 in May. Although it's my cousin who's lived here a lot longer than me said 68 feels very different in June than it does in February. I don't believe I'm going to need it, but I brought the spare battery with just in case. When Bob and I got up to Costa Mesa, the bike wouldn't start. Bob caught his handlebar on the wire on my bike and it unplugged something from the back of the display, but on your left. Before we found that that was unplugged, I had unscrewed and screwed back or plugged back in the main controller thing, which is what was making the bike not quite be at 100%. So see if I messed it up or not. This is only about a 20-mile ride, but since I'm gonna cut inland and go over Fire Mountain, there will be more hills involved. 2 rides with Bob. It was an hour each way to get to Silverado and an hour each way to get to Newport Beach, so I want to do something a little closer to home. Probably either San Clemente or Vista for the Inland Rail Trail. Oceanside sent out their final plans for how they want the Inland Rail Trail to run. They have built a tiny squib, maybe a quarter mile of it up around Melrose, but they have plotted out the rest. I don't know how many years it's going to take them to build it, but assuming Vista gets a little bit built that they need to complete to get over to Oceanside. That will complete the trail from Oceanside to Escondido. I'm guessing between 25 and 30 miles each way is what it's going to be when it's all done. But assuming I'm still around and riding a bike, when they finish, I'll certainly do that ride. This feels very much like an off-season ride.